بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is Dr. Tariq Rashid and this is our program Spirit of Values, and we are discussing what we call effectiveness as a value. We started with the effectiveness value with what we call pyramid of effectiveness. We start by defining some of the rules that will help us to move from being dependent into being independent. And in previous episode, we mentioned the three main rules in effectiveness that will help us to transfer from being dependent into being independent. And just to remind you, the first rule was be proactive, and we mentioned the proactivity model. Then the second rule, begin with the end in mind, which means personal planning. Number three is put first things first. Has to do with time management and making priorities in your life. Now let's start moving towards the independency into interdependency by applying first rule number 4, which is think win-win. In order to think win-win, this is what we call the habit or rule of mutual benefits. We have to respect others and always believe that I and you equals we. But in order to apply the rule of think win-win, there are two main conditions. The first condition, that both partners or parties or teams believe in this mentality. Because if I am always oriented towards win-win, but the other team or the other party is win-lose, we will never meet. So in order to apply this rule of effectiveness for the sake of a team, we have first to respect the other party and think of the same mutual benefits. Apply the rule for both parties. The second condition, think win-win, is a mentality of give and take. If you want to take, you have to give. If you always want just to take without giving, this mentality and this rule will never apply. And there are three main different mentalities than win-win. So there is a mentality called win-lose. Those people who are using such a rule, they believe that in order to win, they will let others to lose. So they read their winning from others losing. But this mentality will cause never a team will be there. We are just suffering from such a relation because winning the other is losing. This is not a mentality to be used, and you will never be effective by applying this. But some people may think with lose-win. I want to lose in order you win. In this mentality, they find three hidden mentalities. I do understand lose-win when you sacrifice for the other party. For example, mothers with their kids. Mothers may lose in order to let their kids or children to win. This is sacrificing. Soldiers with their countries. But there is a mentality of being a loser always. This is weakness. You let others always win. You will suffer a lot by being weak. You should defend your rights and believe always in your rights and transfer into win-win. The third mentality is you play this mentality lose-win temporarily in order to get to win-lose permanently. And this is a very bad rule of behavior with others. So the main idea is then win-win. But there is the losing mentality, which is lose-lose. Totally the opposite of win-win. Lose-lose, I will lose and let you also lose. This is not a situation, this is a battle rather than a team spirit. But also, if you apply these two mentalities, we always believe that win-lose or lose-win, on the long term, it's a lose-lose at the end result. So either you win-win or lose-lose. To be effective, we have to believe in the other team, to the other party, and apply think win-win. This will help us to move towards being independent, and moving towards being with others. So win-win definition is an approach, is a set of principles, practices, tools, which will enable a set of interdependency, stakeholders, teams to work on a mutual satisfactory for all. And this is what we need always to apply this rule with our relation with others. So this is what I mentioned, believe in win-win. Even in negotiation, we should apply the concept of win-win, because the other three mentalities, at the end, it's lose-lose mentality. The key concepts for this: objective, which makes a stakeholder feel like a winner. What do we mean by stakeholders? And previously we defined stakeholders in business. These are either individuals, entities, establishments, organization, whether public or private, local, international, or regional, which is affected or affecting our strategic goals. So these are the stakeholders. We have to think how we can let all stakeholders in a certain organization win-win, in a certain family, in a certain society. So also the issue is a conflict or constraint on a win condition. So we should win, all parties should win. The option is a way of overcoming an issue. So please give. If you want to take, you have to give. So we have to give some issue in front of taking other. This will keep us in agreement and mutual commitment for a good condition of this mentality. So even in negotiation model, win condition, we start with an agreement. The agreement should cover all the issue. So if we have an issue with the other party, we have to set and address several options. Then we reach to an agreement. This will apply a win condition. So win-win equilibrium state, all win conditions will be covered by an agreement. Why we use such a rule of effectiveness? The other alternatives will never work. Those alternatives are just temporary alternatives. If you want for a permanent relations in winning, we have to think of win-win. Avoids costly rework. If you believe in win-lose, we will go for mistakes, lots of time that we invest and we lose time. This will help us if we go for win-win, to invest in time rather than to pay taxes on the rework. Also, this will build trust. To remind you, trust is one of the highest values that we care for. In any relation, we believe if trust is there, everything will move in the right direction. So let's go for this and believe in win-win mentality. This will help us to share in achieving our goals as well as our objectives for an organization. Now, if we go to rule number 5, after we think win-win, we have to apply seek first to understand, then to be understood. What does this mean as a rule of effectiveness? Seek first to understand, which means listen to the other party issue before speaking. If you always apply listen first, you are applying this rule. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So whenever you apply listening to the other party, you respect their attitude, their behavior, their case. In such a case, you will be respected by them. But some people apply, listen to me. No, you should listen to me. And they go in a struggle. Apply this principle, seek first to understand, then to be understood, will help us to be with what we call empathetic communication. Listen to others and listen deeply to what they are expressing. And by listening here, we are applying the best type of listening, emotional, empathetic listening that will build the trust and will go for the case of interdependency, which is the we team spirit. And finally, the number 6. Rule number 6, synergize. The top of reaching interdependency is the rule of the team. And previously, we discussed this in a other episode of the value of a team. And always in a team, we believe that 1 plus 1 should always equal 1. One harmony, one direction, one goal. By applying this rule of synergizing, we are applying the concept of total effectiveness, and this will help us to reach to what we call the interdependency. And this will help us. How can we read the trust? Again, trust is one of the most important values. If the cooperation is low, trust is low. If the cooperation and communication and listening is high, for sure, trust is high. So the idea win-win, again, will help us to be in the concept of the highest level of communication. Win-win, then seek first to understand, then to be understood, will help us to reach the concept. And number 6 is public victory, the team concept. So how can we understand the concepts of creative communication, synergies? The exercise of all other habits and rules prepare us for this rule, synergize. It's number 6. Be as a team, be in one harmony, and synergize. The whole is greater than the sum. And always we believe team. Team means together everyone achieves more. It's the success for all of us. Few people experience synergy in their lives because most people is always believing in their comfort zone and in applying the concept of I rather than we. But life is too short if you want to just depend on yourself, believe in the other party, and let us synergize together to reach the concept of interdependency, the mentality of a team. How can we apply synergize in business? To achieve synergy in business requires that people become open, helpful, cooperation. One of the values also is cooperation. Cooperation will enhance effectiveness. We are trustworthy now, we can achieve. When we open ourselves to the influence of others, we gain new insights, new ideas, and this will help facilitation for new options for advancement in business. So the lowest level of communication coming out of low trust situation. Again, the very most important value we always insist on is trust. When trust is there, everything is there. So get out of the lowest level of communication for the level of synergizing in order to achieve. And this is the top highest level, is the win when the other mentalities will never help us to achieve the value. Is there negative synergy? Most highly dependent people are trying to succeed in an interdependent, which means if there are people still in the dependency mentality, which they are totally dependent on others, when you put them in win-win, they read their win, but they will never do anything. They are depending on the others to do the job, and this is what we call negative synergy. Each one in the team should combine together, believing in diversity is integration. Each one of the team has to present something for the sake and the benefits of others. So don't rely on what we call negative synergy. We don't need such a relation to be there. It will affect our success. But in synergizing, we have to value the differences between people, because I and you may be totally different, but I and you equals we. Again, diversity is integration, so we have to respect the differences between the team. Valuing the differences is the essence of synergy. I cannot ask others to be like my character or personality, but we can go together with different personality for the sake of the team. We have to value the differences between others. The truly effective person has the humility and reverence to recognize his or her own perceptual limitations, to realize that others are needed and they are rich resource to help us move in life. So if two people have the same opinion, for sure there is one unnecessary in the situation. And even in team, if you get back to the episode of team, we define 9 roles for a good team. 9 roles. Not 9 people, but 9 roles. Because most people can master 2 to 3 roles. So a good team is always between 4 to 5, having the 9 roles for the sake of the achievement. But if 2 players have the same character, the same personality, one is additional, we don't need him or her. So this is the idea of valuing differences in order synergize will apply. But also in this rule, we have to apply what we call FF analysis, which is force field analysis presented by Lewin. Always we will have resistance. Some people believe in their comfort zone. They don't believe in synergizing. So we have to apply what are the driving forces for synergy, what are the resisting or restraining forces. And we have to set an analysis. Whenever the driving forces for synergy and team has higher effect than restraining forces, we will go. But if we have some resistance that we can master or overcome, this will help us by force field analysis to move, to accelerate, to reach the concept of synergy. But there are always restraining forces, sometimes due to negative emotions, sometimes to negative behavior. Some people believe that they don't have the abilities to go for a team or the commitment, so they just drag out. And this is a negative force that may affect the progress of synergizing. So we have to think of this also, and you have to read your personality. And here, just a quick analysis of your personality. There are 4 categories to think of. First, I and E. Are you introvert or extrovert? By being introvert means that you believe more in yourself. Extrovert, you believe in others. And we need you to be extrovert whenever we go for synergizing. Are you S or N? S depends on their senses, on the 5 senses to apply for decision. But the N people depends on their intuition to take the concept and then they move. Are you T or F? Applying thinking or feeling in your decision. P or J? Are you perceiving, probing, or judging, criticizing? Decide which letter from each set applies to you. Then we will check your personality, which one will apply most for synergizing. This is the episode of Value of Effectiveness, reaching now the concept of team. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.